kindly keep their videos on and microphones muted for the smooth flow of the session. You all can ask your questions in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Saurav and Arushi, for the wonderful introduction. My name is Omkar, and you guys can call me Omkar, no need to call me sir or anything else. I would like to begin the session by talking a bit about myself, so you know who you're talking to. So I did my BTech in Computer Science from Shivaji University, Kolhapur. And in my final year, I gave the Combined Defense Service examination and joined the Indian Military Academy. I trained there for a year, and during the training, I had a mishap which caused a medical injury. So I had to cut short my training and then look for different career options. So after that, I worked in Byju's for a few months. I worked as a business development associate, and I worked as a product specialist in Bangalore. And majorly while working from July 2019, when I was relieved, I was mostly focused on deciding what my next career direction would be. And that is when I prepared for CAT and GMAT at the same time. But as I came to know more about the process, I found that a GMAT and studying abroad would be a much better perspective for me in terms of ROI and profile consideration. And that is why I went with it. And currently, I am doing my master's in management from EDEC Business School, and I'm in France since September. Yeah, that's all I can tell you about me. And today, I would like to talk about mostly the journey of going into management from some other field, or if you are a commerce graduate, just taking the next step of doing masters, and how you can plan this and prepare for this. So in the beginning, one of the major points I find lacking in students is that they just go on the internet, find the top rankings like QS rankings or FT rankings, and just start looking for colleges from the top to bottom. So what I would suggest in instead of this is that you take a bottom up approach. You first decide what your competencies are, what you have studied, what you want to study, and where you wish to work. And then when you combine these three things, you come up with at least one geographical area and a course which supports this. And this is when you go towards the ranking. For example, if you have done a BCom and you wish to work in finance, first, what you do is you start looking for the countries which you want to work in. You see what the visa requirements are, how much work visa will you get? Because when you're going for a broad education, you're not just taking 2 years of your life. You're taking a huge loan and an obligation. So first, I would ask you to plan your career and then decide the college rather than just going for the top colleges. Okay, so once you have an idea of which geographical area, which stream, and which career you want to go for, then you can narrow down like 10 colleges and start building a profile towards them. Now, profile building is a very long and tedious process, but apart from profile building, there is also something known as showcasing your profile, highlighting the points which are very valuable. Now, this is where some of your friends and mentors can help you. There might be some achievements you have done in your past, which might seem insignificant to you, but can make a huge difference in your application. You need to find out such points. So, as you guys should have seen, there is a research publication by GMAC. Is audible, please hide. Okay. Is anyone facing am I audible to everyone? Arushi, can you tell me?
Yes, sir.
I don't think. Yes, sir.
Okay. If I'm going way too fast, or you need me to slow down, you can tell me that also. Okay. So from a recent survey published by GMAC, the major criteria which colleges look for in a student are as follows. I'm going to tell you, you can note it down. So the first one is academic transcripts and standardized exams. Now, academic transcripts go for around 32%, and standardized exam amount to about 18%. Now, this percentage is a weightage of priority that they give to this specific criteria when selecting a student. Okay, so what they look for in academic transcripts are whether you have any backlogs, what is the grade of the university you're in, what is your CGPA, GPA, is your education related to the course you are trying to go for. For example, when you're trying to apply to UCD, some of the courses will require you to have a business degree, while some of the masters in management are built for students from different backgrounds coming into management. Uh, and yes, you might think that you have some lesser CGPA, but then your consistency and the grade of university also matters. There is no hard and fast rule that if you are above 8 or 9 CGPA, the colleges are just going to love you. And the second thing is standardized exams. Standardized exams are twofold. One is to establish your quantitative and understanding aptitude. Another is to establish your speaking skills. Now, speaking skills, you have IELTS, TOEFL, and a lot of them like Duolingo. I'll just answer all the questions in bulk in the end. So, yeah. So about GRE, GMAT, most of the colleges accept GRE, GMAT, and it's more of your preference, because both the exams have different focus points, because GRE focus a bit more on vocabulary, and GMAT focuses more on, I would say, critical reasoning, because when you're solving a quant question, even your quantitative aptitude is not that highly tested as much as your critical reasoning. Okay, so we have quant exams and English exams. After this amounts to almost half of your weightage. Okay, so you need to be very careful that when you're in your undergraduation, you do not get any backlogs, or you at least try to do your best and keep a consistent score. If you are uh, means you have graduated and you're looking to improve your profile, you have the other 50% I'll talk about where you can concentrate. Now, the next thing is resume. A resume amounts to around 7%. So a resume is what? A resume is a two-page document that states your academic achievements, your extracurricular activities, and the work experience, if any. So herein, the major mistakes that we do is that we make it very simple and blunt. It should have a structure, and it should follow a star method, wherein you display what the situation was, how you reacted it, and what the results were. This makes your resume a bit more impactful to the person who is reading it, because you can imagine a person sitting in America or in Europe reading your resume, he won't understand the significance of the achievements you have done. So you have to make sure that when you're saying that you have stood first in the class, you should say that you stood first in the class of like 150 students. So using numbers highlights your achievements a lot. After resume, you have interviews. Now, interviews amount to around 13%, and interviews for most of the B schools are online, but some of them don't have interviews, and some of them have pre-recorded interviews. Now, basically, what is tested in these interviews is your ability to express yourself, your ability to project your ideas in a structured manner, and also test your creative ability and your inclination to answer on the spot. So this is one of the major points where you can make a huge impression on the interviewee and the admission committee. And practicing interviews with your mentors or your friends helps you understand the process better. And it's even better if you like go on Google and try to find interview questions. For example, if you go on Google and try to find EdTech MIM questions, you'll find the list, and you can prepare for the most common questions, and that will give you a huge head start. After interviews, essays are basically statement of purposes or questions specific to each scenario. Some schools will give you essays, some schools will ask you to write 200 word essays on specific questions. But mostly, if you have one generic SOP, you can draw in the content from it. It makes your life a bit more easier. And basically, what they look for in an SOP is the focus of the candidate. Okay, so if you are trying to get into MSc Finance, you should be able to like prove your motivation to get into it. Now, how you can prove is that having a relevant undergraduate degree, or having a relevant work experience, or having done some online courses which are related to the course. And this certifies that you wish to work in that. Next, they would look for in why you are looking for their institution, what you would bring to the cohort. Now, our way of thinking is that we just focus on what we can get from the college, how much ROI we will get, how much the college is providing career systems, and what we need to write about in an SOP is what kind of diversity of thought and experience you will bring to the cohort, and how you will contribute to the class. So that is one thing you should focus on essays. And after this, you have recommendation letters. Recommendation letters have a weightage of around 6%. And recommendation letters, if you have worked, I would suggest you take one recommendation from your work experience, and one from your academic background. Now, now there are generic texts about recommendation letters that don't take it from a very higher official, and take it from a person who has supervised you and can really vouch for you in words, rather than you just framing the letter and giving it to the person. So if you can follow those, you are well to go. And then you have some biographical information where which amounts to just 2%. Then you have short answers. Short answers are basically parts of SOPs or some specific questions related to colleges or the program. And there is also other material. Now, this other material can be some certificates of significance that you have earned, some major achievements, like do you have a separate website, or you have some kind of Instagram group wherein you are talking about finance. For, let us say, I am into finance, so I keep talking about it, so I'm sorry. So if you have a group wherein you are trying to impart financial literacy, and then you're trying to vie for MSc Finance, it gives you an advantage. Just giving an example. Now, this is the total profile and the points that a college will consider before giving you an admission. Now, the major thing that comes after securing an admission, actually, we mostly think about it before securing an admission and worry for it throughout the process, is about finance. Now, this finance can be personal or about scholarship. Now, I would tell you one thing, that if you are getting into a good college, getting finance will be a very easy process for you. Whereas getting into when you're going for a relatively unknown college, finance will be a bit difficult for you. And there are a major variety of financial products available for students, which make our lives a lot easier. The only thing is that we don't know about it. Now, that you don't always have to give a collateral to get a loan, and you don't always need to have a huge bank balance or block accounts to go into to study abroad. So I would ask you to first take a plunge into the process, secure an admit, and see how much scholarships you can get, because you can only apply for the scholarships when you have secured an admit. And scholarships are also of two types. Scholarships can be given by the institution itself. like early bird scholarship, women's scholarship, excellence scholarship. Now these will have separate criteria according to each institution, and there might be scholarships given by the country you're going to itself. For example, France gives you Charpak scholarship, Germany gives you DAD scholarships, Holland gives you I don't know, orange tulip scholarship. So there are a variety of things involved. So rather than just worrying in the beginning about how you will finance your education and living abroad, you should uh, take a plunge and then see make a detailed analysis of what your expenses would be. Now, for example, as I live in Lille, my rent is much lower than a person living in Paris. So what a person spends in Paris, I can live for like 2 months in the same living expense. So it's just an example which you should focus on. And one another major point I would ask you to focus on is the visa that a country provides after you have done the course. Now, although some countries say that they will give you 2 years of job visa, what you have to be sure of is whether your course is eligible to give you that much of visa. For example, in France, there is this thing called RNCP. So when your course is covered under RNCP, that is only when you will get a 2 years of job search visa. And yes, people might tell you that studying from any college abroad is okay, but going into the top rank colleges does have its I would say privileges, and it makes a life a bit easier for you. But in terms of generic programs, if you're learning a very specific subject where in that college is good, then the argument is reversed. And finally, you should also look on your career prospects. Now, when people want to work in luxury marketing, they should choose France. They want to work in renewable energy, like Nordic Scandinavian countries are more advanced in that. If you want to work in, you have a background in engineering and you want to go into engineering or manufacturing management, Germany would be better. And if you want to get into finance, UK would be better. If you have a tech background and want to get into management, like you want to work for business analytics, and then Ireland would be better. And another major thing is the native language. So knowing the native language of the country you're going to gives you a huge advantage and multiplies your job prospects. Yeah, that is all I have from my side. Let me keep this time for questions.
Sure. Just to add certain more points to Omkar, as we have been talking across a lot of students who are having the same vision or same dreams as studying in a top-notch university. So certain pointers which my team or I come across from many different successful admits is one is what is the credibility of an online certificate? That's one of the questions which normally comes. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you're.
Yeah, great. So one of the questions which normally come to a student find is the credibility of an online certificate. So just to give an idea about the online certificates, about Udemy and Coursera and all. So just imagine number of colleges India has, and let's say approximately 10% of the students opt for this courses, online upskilling courses of Coursera and Udemy, 10 and 20%. Just imagine that 20% amounts to how many people, right? So online certification is nowhere bad, but unless and until you implement those theories on a practical note, those are worthless. And even the recruiters as well as the admission committee members know that, right? So that is one about the online certifications. Second being certain internships. You can look at certain internships on, for example, Deloitte, EY. Most of the students who have got admits in top universities, especially in UK, have gone kind of internships in Deloitte, in EY, in kind of economist or economic advisory role, a kind of internship, Chrysal, Cafral. If you're interested in finance, some have done CFA level 1, level 2. Uh, if LBS LSE has kind of a preference towards international exposure. So, for example, if you have an experience in kind of a summer school in Yale or Cambridge or Duke, uh, so this universities kind of give summer school, but that are expensive. Disclaimer. So, if you are able to kind of afford the summer schools, then that would be a big pointer. Conferences like HPAIR, Harvard Pair Conference, the Asian Conference. So those kind of conferences would also kind of be in addition to your resume or profile part. And if you are more into research oriented, then probably you need to go into, for example, international economics convention for research papers, economics competitions, uh, uh, those kind of all roles. So it depends upon which domain you want to go into. There is FMCG market, there is finance, like private equity, hedge funds, or business analyst role, or brand management. It depends upon which role do you want to go into. Similarly, your internship should be aligned to those to the domain you want to work for or you want to study in, so that you will be able to build a coherent story, which Omkar was talking about. So whatever things or internships or whatever stuff you do during your bachelor's should have a relevance to whatever master's or higher education you want to opt for. It's same if you want to do your higher education in India or abroad. It's the same thing basically. So that is what will basically help you uh, be a kind of out of the crowd uh, when it comes to competition in India. Because as you know, we in bachelors we have IITs, NITs, all top-notch universities. But that doesn't mean students from tier 2 or 3 colleges do not get top admits. That's utterly not true. So similarly, in your domain as well, there are other top colleges probably. So how does the normally a dilemma or fear comes to a student mind that, oh, this guy or this girl is from that university. If I need to compete with that person, how will they able to do that? And all they have a brand value. At some part, it's true, but then again, it all depends upon your profile. How much strong is your storyline? So that is what you probably you guys probably need to work for a profile. So having said that, right now we are open to questions, if you have any.
Okay. So the first question is about, don't have a good CGPA. Do you have a good college? You answer your own question. You don't have a good CGPA, you have a good college, so it kind of balances out, and you can bring out the rest of your features of the profile. What to look for? QS, overall university ranking, or course specific? I would ask you to go for course specific QS rankings, because that is the specific domain you will be working on, and it will mean a lot more. Overall CGPA is required to get a scholarship. What are the criteria to get it? Now, the overall CGPA to get a scholarship, I would say at least first class, according to academic standards, if you ask me. Apart from this, you also have scholarships for um academic excellence, or women's scholarship, or extracurricular activities, or you can also get a scholarship for applying early, which is early bird scholarship. So academic excellence is not the only thing you will be considered for scholarships, but yes, it will make a stronger point having a good academic score. Product manager, final year of company, 23, master in engineering, choose product track, project management, career path to break into product management. Okay, this is a very specific question. I would have to look at your profile to like understand which product segment you wish to work for. Yes, and this will be a good path if you want to go into product management. But I would ask you, rather than going for masters in engineering management, you go for masters in business analytics, or where a higher masters in computer science, so that you can work towards becoming a system architect. Because I don't see a lot of computer engineers handling production in engineering. Engineering is more of production and manufacturing oriented. You should go towards a field where you are handling IT projects. We need to take time off after college to prepare. Now that totally depends on you, Priyal, whether you can manage studying for the exams when you are in college or when you're working. That totally depends person to person. But I have seen people do pretty well managing their work life and studying for the competitive exams as well. Which country is better for doing a master in international relations? Okay. This question is about Master in International Relations. I would ask you to first think of the languages you know, the languages you can learn, and wherein you want to work, because international relations is a very huge topic wherein you want to work is more important rather than just choosing the best college. Okay. First, you would take a bottom up approach that I was talking about earlier. How does summer school experience add to the prospects? Okay, so as Saurabh said, some colleges do have a preference for students who have done international experiences. So it gives you an edge. I know ESP also gives a preference to students who have some kind of international exposure, internships or summer schools. It gives you an added edge, but it is not a deciding factor. Chartered accountants with 70 plus get a chance for MBA finance. Okay, that depends on the mm, total official work experience you have done and whether you satisfy the work experience criteria of the college. If you satisfy that, yes, you do have a good chance for MBA in finance. Depends on which country you
Just
are going to also.
to add on to that answer, normally MBA abroad requires an experience of more than 3 or 4 years. So if you are
Right.
looking out for doing an MBA abroad, then probably you need to work for around 3 to 4 years before you go ahead for an MBA. But if you are very interested into go into finance very in your early stage, probably you can look at MIM, which Omkar is doing right now.
Right. You can look for an MIM in financial MIM track in financial economics track, followed by EDEC. It gives you a much more balanced entry into the world of finance. I want to pursue LLM in future. I should do a bachelor stating I don't have LLB for my graduation.
Let
Okay.
me take
Uh,
that question for the LLM
mhm.
because right now, a few days I'm getting a lot of queries with the LLM. So,
Sure, sure.
Muskan, for the LLM, basically you probably need to work under a professor, probably a research, sorry, a law firm for a certain months, so that you're able to get an on-hand experience, right? So we have approximately 4 to 5 members from the LLM domain, that too from top universities. So probably you can look at Aditya's LinkedIn profile. I can give the LinkedIn profile in the chat window. Probably you can look at his profile, how he has structured his profile, so that you're able to get certain information regarding the LLM.
Okay. So the next question is about basic requirements. Get into any US, UK, I would say graduation, undergraduation to get into graduation, and 12th standard to get into undergraduation, and knowing the English language and proving it via standardized tests. If a university comes in top 50, overall ranking. Okay. Herein, you should try to contact some alumni of the university to learn more about their work experience, teaching and work experience. so that you get some insights into it rather than just going for rankings. Which country and university for Western Master in Economics? Okay, Masters in Economics, you have top colleges in London, in Stockholm, and in France. But again, where you want to work for is more important rather than just going for the best college. Because if you study in that country, you get a work permit in that country, and migrating becomes difficult if you want to study in one country. And for example, you want to study in Europe and go and do a job in America, it's a lot more difficult. So geography is the first thing you should focus on.
There is
What is
an
the place?
additional thing which many Indians do not know about, that when you're going abroad, there is no such a very broad domain as Masters in Economics. There are also very specific domains. For example, behavioral economics. There is another
Right.
environmental data analytics. So there are very specific courses as well, which is very interesting. We have a mentor who is doing his her masters in international peace and security, and is working with UN. So there is a lot of very interesting and very unique courses you guys can opt for. And the one very good thing about this kind of courses that not many people opt for these courses. So there are a lot of scholarships available for many people who can try their hands if they want to go, if they're very much serious about these courses. For example, one, we have a mentor, Saurav, who is an Erasmus Mundus scholar. So
Right, I
you
was going
guys
to talk
can
about.
even exactly you guys can even look at Erasmus Mundus programs, where you can get an ample amount of opportunities in kind of exploring this kind of fields, and on a full funded note. So do search for Erasmus Mundus scholars.
Erasmus Mundus is a very prestigious scholarship, and it is available in a various domains. So you guys should definitely look into it. Basic knowledge for HR management in Australia. Depends on the college what the admission criteria of the college is. Basic knowledge would be undergraduation in any field. Uh, get a scholarship. Stand out. See, a scholarship, every type of scholarship has different criteria. So if there is academic scholarship and you have good academic scores, you will get an academic scholarship. If there is a sports scholarship, you have a good sports experience, you will get a sports scholarship. Whereas if they have some kind of a special program wherein they are encouraging students from more diverse backgrounds to come into that course, you will get that scholarship. So the chance of you getting a scholarship depends on the criteria that the scholarship is uh, concentrating on and the course you're going for. Pursue MBA marketing from US, Canada, unrelated to business. Okay. Okay. This question is from Janvi. She's doing a BSc in zoology and she wants to get into MBA in US or Canada. Now, see, you wouldn't have a problem going for an MBA course, but the MBA first criteria would be doing a work experience. Now, a work experience should be related to the field you want to do an MBA in. For example, you want to do an MBA in marketing, you would want to do internships or work experience in the field of marketing itself so that you can build your profile, and combining zoology and your work experience would make a stronger case for you going into MBA marketing. Eligibility criteria for scholarship different. Yes, the eligibility criteria for the scholarships is different. Vidhi, uh, which country university would you suggest for MSc in marketing? Got and good number of related scholar internships. Okay, so you want to do an MSc in marketing, but marketing is you can, if you want to do luxury marketing, I would ask you to go for ESSEC or HEC in France, or Politico in Italy. But again, if you want to do marketing, you do marketing of different products. You want to do tech marketing, you want to do luxury marketing, you want to do marketing for firms which are based in US. So again, your inclination towards a field decides your course rather than just going for the top course. If one opts to start their own startup, does it make okay, yes. Rutvi, if you have a startup, it shows that you have an innovative spirit and entrepreneurial spirit, which is very much appreciated in most of the colleges. And an entrepreneurship experience gives you a much broader story, but you need to be able to explain and have actually worked on a startup and handled some clients to convey your story better. So just stating that you have worked in a startup doesn't make sense. You have to like prove that you had an idea, you how you built it into a business and how you went about it. It will make a huge difference, because most of the top colleges also have startup incubators. And if you write in your SOP that you want to grow your startup in that country by using the school's incubator, it makes a really good story. Since you asked about languages, English, Hindi, and Urdu, what should I approach next? Arshil, that would depend on which area you want to work in, geographical area you want to work in. You know so many languages. Uh, I don't think, but these languages are mostly spoken a lot in Europe. So I would try working in this area. What should I approach next? I would rather prefer you becoming fluent in Spanish and French rather than just pursuing various different languages. Because when you go for jobs, they will ask you for fluency in some languages rather than just concentrating on the number of languages you know. Which country and university is best for doing MBA international business? It's a very broad question. You will have to come up with a geographical area for me to give you a ranking. The best universities have been ranked by FT. You can read in FT. How important are extracurricular for? Extracurriculars are important, but they are supplementary. First, they will look at your work experience and academics. Get into admission university that are free of cost. Okay, Ria, you would have to speak to some of our counselors. They can give you a better idea where of what field you want to study. And yes, there are public universities where you can study free of cost in Germany. So you can get admission it by applying. I'm pursuing bachelors in history and political science, MBA in future. Okay, but Varsha, I would have to look what country, what course you're looking for to answer your question better, because just giving a generic answer won't help. Is Canada a good option for MBA studies? Yes, like, resounding yes. If you can afford it and you have the required criteria fulfilled. Okay, Saurabh, should we take more questions or?
Probably let me pick up some good questions because the questions are still pouring in. So
Yeah, I think I am after at the question of Rama Yadav after
yes,
the
yes.
LinkedIn.
Let me some are redundant questions. So let me just give a brief overview that most of the MBA questions about the career change, the admission committee do appreciate and encourage actually of having people from different diverse backgrounds. Okay, so even if you're doing a bachelor's from a very unrelevant course, you still have a chance of doing an MBA, but then you also have to figure out your work experience aligns to that of the MBA you will be doing, which Omkar had stated before. So let's say you did a bachelor's in psychology, you did certain work with in your domain, and then try to change into a management role, mostly let's say into marketing, for example. Here as Rama Yadav has stated about psychology. So you can, probably switch into custom analytics Okay, behavioral economics is one of the things which involves behavioral psychology plus your economics of scale. One very good example I can give is if you guys have seen Nutella packet, like Nutella bottles, the three bottles do check out the prices, the quantity and the prices. You will understand about the economics of scale. So that is one a psychology marketing which many brands do opt for. So similarly, you guys need to figure out how your current course would basically help you get into management by doing such a relevant management domain managerial role basically. So internship, some professor. So yes, for summer schools and abroad internships, you need to reach out to professors or different universities. You know to get an idea about do they have a requirement, do they have an opening for that or not. If they do have, then you have to prove yourself that you are the right candidate for that role. About if you guys want to reach out.
One
Yeah, Munkar, please continue.
one question I read was about whether academics or entrance exam, competitive exams would be given preference in scholarships. So they would look for a balance of both. So if you have a very good GMAT score and have an average academic score, you can compensate it over there. So it's more of balancing your academics and scores. So yeah, if you are a bit lower somewhere, you can compensate it by doing extracurricular activities or getting a good score in the other exams. Yeah, I'm done. Saurabh, you can continue.
Yep. So probably we are at the end of all these questions. So if any of you guys want to interact with any mentors on a platform, then I will be sharing one link to our community, Telegram community, to any of you, one of your representatives, and they would basically float out that link so that you guys can join in. We do have frequent mentorship calls with different mentors we have on a platform, and again, we also have a lot of webinars on this particular topics. Uh, for example, even we had a webinar about music because we had a web mentor who had done a master's in music from Berkeley. So similarly, we also do a lot of webinars on very unconventional roles, as well as on degrees which normally many students are not aware of. For example, international peace and security, masters in international peace and security. So do follow and do get in touch with our representatives. So you guys can help you out in figuring out your career ahead, about whether you should opt for higher education right now or later on, or doing abroad is sensible for you or not, or doing it in India is more beneficial. So that's all. So this webinar is not all about that you guys should go abroad, but rather figuring out your career, which, when, and what will be a right decision to go ahead during this very uncertainty time of COVID and all. Because now things are changing, supply chain, the FMCG markets, the economies, everything is changing right now. So that's what. So I guess I hope this webinar has been very beneficial for you guys. This has been our second webinar in Maitri. Thanks for the efforts of your representatives, and we really enjoyed having this webinar. So we hope that all of you, and we hope that
Uh,
yep, Ayush, you can continue.
yes, sir. Just wanted to conclude. So, on the behalf of Naraki and all the attendees, I would like to thank you for sharing your valuable insights. The webinar was very interesting and informative, and I'm sure this session would prove to be very useful for all of us. We're glad you could join us. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Ayush.
Thank you.
So, yeah, so we're good to go ahead.